Hi guys, Jacob Rees-Mogg is very, very worried about losing his seat. He has no doubt watched fellow Tories drop like flies at by-elections and see majorities of over 20,000 act in no way as a firewall against the onslaught. So what could the right honourable gentleman from the 19th century do to hold on to his position in Parliament? Perhaps work for his constituents? Perhaps spend less time at GB News and more with voters? Or perhaps push policies that lift people in his area out of poverty and improve the NHS for those on the waiting list? No, that would require time and it would require effort. Instead, he wants to pander to Reform UK and Nigel Farage. Have a listen to this.
The answer lies in reuniting the right. What we need is a big, open and comprehensive offer to those in Reform. We had this in 2010 to the Liberals, who are hardly our soulmates. But most members of Reform are not a million miles away from most Conservative voters and members politically. So the Prime Minister should offer candidate selection to senior members of the Reform Party, such as the estimable Ben Habib, Richard Tyson, of course, the one and only Nigel Farage. The Sun's poll has today revealed that if Nigel were to re-enter politics with the Reform Party, they would reach 16% in the polls, just a smidgen, just 5%. Behind the Tories at 21% in the same poll. When putting these percentages together, it gets us to 37% to Labour's 41%. Now, it's not as simple as that, of course, and you know that, and it doesn't take into account, in addition, it would send such a clear message to the electorate of unity of purpose. And the message here is that we've answered the question of what it means to be Conservative. It means slashing net migration down to the tens of thousands because every electoral mandate since 2010 has promised precisely this. It means stopping the small boats and securing our borders. It means leaving the oppressive jurisdiction of the European Court of Human Rights because the British people have had enough of foreign courts extending their powers to interfere in our sovereignty. It means restoring power to elected and accountable politicians who represent you and taking back the powers of the quangocracy. This is everything from the OBR to Natural England to the Climate Change Committee. It means rolling back the disastrous green agenda, enabling cheap energy, get onto the Falklands in a moment, and granting freedom of choice for British consumers. It means rolling back the unproductive legacy of New Labour by abolishing the Equality Act, which has paved the way for wasteful wokery in both the public and private sector. It means building more beautiful homes across the country, slashing the overreaching powers of the labyrinthine planning system. It means implementing supply-side reforms that would unleash Britain's latent growth and lead to cuts in personal and corporation taxes, whilst cutting trade tariffs to enable cheaper goods for consumers, putting consumers, voters, people first. That is what voting for a Conservative government would mean at the next election if we manage this great offer. And it's
No mention of the NHS, no mention of the cost of living crisis. And this is what people are actually concerned with. This is what people are going to vote on. Do they want another 14 years of Conservative rule or another 5 years of Conservative rule? No, they don't. They want change. And what Jacob Rees-Mogg is trying to suggest here is what the Conservative Party, which includes the One Nation group, which is the biggest bloc in the Conservative Party, they should be ignored and they should pander to Reform UK and Nigel Farage. Now, what is this about? This is, of course, about him trying to hold on to his seat because he knows at the next general election, the right-wing vote will be split between the Conservatives and Reform UK, and this will help usher in a Labour MP in his constituency or in his future constituency because it's changing. This is what he's worried about. Holding on to his seat. It's not about change. It's not about building homes. If he cared about building homes, why didn't he campaign for that in the number of years that he's been an MP? They're desperate at this stage. They understand that even those on the right are tired of the Conservatives. They want to give them a bloody nose. And Jacob Rees-Mogg and others are worried about this. Of course he's worried. He wants to hold on to his seat. And he'll do everything, apart from actually helping people. You know, I keep saying this. If the Conservatives truly cared about holding on to their seats, they'd actually do stuff for people. Deal with the cost of living crisis. Bring down the waiting list in the NHS. But they don't want to do that because that requires time and it requires effort. This is the laziest party in British history, I think. You know, it started with Boris Johnson. Do nothing. Just run with slogans and gimmicks And it followed over into with Liz Truss. It followed over with Rishi Sunak as well. Don't actually do anything. Just talk about banning stuff. Talk about culture wars. Talk about gimmicks. Yeah, we're going to spend money on this. We're going to. Not we're actually doing it now. Because that's the problem. If you actually spent money on things now, people would see it. But you're not doing that. It's always about get us back into power and we will do stuff for you in the future. You are the party in power now. They don't seem to understand that the general election is a referendum on the incumbent. Are people happy with this current situation? No, they're not. So if you're promising to fix things in the future and you're not fixing them now, then people will say, well, what's the point in voting for you? You have the power now to fix things and you're not doing it. So if we put you back in power, then what's the onus on you? Where's the onus on you to actually do something? You should be doing it now, but you're not. This is desperation. Now, will Nigel Farage and Reform UK take on this promise or this pledge or this form this agreement with the Conservative Party? I don't think so, because unlike 2019, when it came to getting Brexit over the line, and I've said before that Nigel Farage was probably afraid that if he did split the vote and Labour did get in, then he would get blamed for not helping the Conservatives get Brexit over the line. Now there is no Brexit on the table. This is about punishing the Conservatives. And if Reform UK do agree some sort of pact, and the Conservatives lose anyway, which they are going to lose, even if there was a pact, how does this help Reform UK? They will get blamed by the voters for not punishing the Tories. Look, people voted for Reform UK and Labour got in anyway. People voted for the Conservatives under a pact with Reform UK and Labour got in anyway. So people will say, well, what was the point in having this pact? We didn't stop Labour. This is not about stopping Labour. This is about a few Tory MPs desperately trying to hold on to their seats, like Jacob Rees-Mogg. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.